Alright YouTube, so I asked some of my friends from the van life community to send me videos of them confessing or telling me about their cringy moments whilst living in a van, and I got quite a few replies. So here is a montage of clips of them giving their embarrassing, cringy or confessions of van life. I hope you enjoy this video. It took me bloody ages to get all the stuff together. Let me know in the comments what you think, and also try and check out some of these people also on YouTube or on Instagram and all that.
Hi, so a few funny things that have happened in the van. A lot of the kind of gross funny things that happen are probably around the toilet. I have a composting toilet, so it separates everything. So it's not too bad to deal with. But there has definitely been a couple of times where I've not noticed that the liquids section is getting quite full, and it's ended up overflowing all over the bathroom floor, which is delightful. So then I have to try and clear it up and sort of empty it without getting it anywhere else in the van, which is a delight. But I mean, it's just my own, you know, produce. So it's not too bad.
A lot of the time the water that I get is out of like a river or a lake or something, and normally I boil it, but I mean, admittedly sometimes I don't. It's easier than trying to find somewhere to fill up water jugs, and I figure that if I start showing signs of beaver fever, I'll just go to the hospital.
When I was travelling around Europe in my first van, so in my transit, I was in Budapest and I went to a festival which is quite a well-known festival called Sziget, and I stayed there for about 5 days. I was in the car park of the supermarket. So I went into the festival, had a great time, met loads of people, and when I came out of the festival on the second night, I lost my key, and I just I didn't know. The only way to get into my van was to break into my van. So when I left the festival, I thought, God, I need to get something to eat. So I had something to eat, got to the car, tried to smash the window, it wouldn't work. Then the security for the shopping centre came out and said, look, it's my van, my passport's inside. And he was really reluctant of letting me smash the window. But anyway, I smashed it. I was still fairly drunk at the time. Got into my van, locked it up, so I locked the side door with a padlock, and then I blocked the window that I smashed with a deck chair. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I wasn't feeling great, and I was sick. But because I was sick, I had nowhere to be sick. I normally would just go outside, but because I put the padlock on the door, I couldn't get out. So I was still a bit drunk, and I fell over, and I was sick inside the van. I had literally nowhere to be sick. I tried everything. And it was just horrific. It was a horrendous situation to be in. So then obviously I cleaned myself up, and then I woke up the next morning, and because of the food that I ate in the festival, I had some noodles, and it was about 4 in the morning. So those noodles was probably being out all day, and I had them, and I just had the shits the next morning. So I was sick. I had the shits. It was just the worst 24 hours, I think, of van life, but looking back, it was probably the most eventful. So that's my story.
Okay, so I was at the beach. We'd found a lovely park up. It was completely out of the way, hard to get to. So there was the odd fisherman there, and I thought, it's hot weather. I'm all sticky and sweaty and a little bit hairy, and I thought I'd have a full-on, hair washed, body done, shaved, the lot. So, I set up the van, I shut the bulkhead, I shut the side door. The only thing that was open was that sliding down window. The actual window part there, I'd stuffed the cushions up against it, so there was just that top gap there because the back doors were open. Thought, no, nobody's going to see. Unless they actually stand on the back of the van and look over, no chance. So anyway, I'm literally butt naked, bent over the sink, and all of a sudden...
Jack, come and have a look at this!
Behind the van, there was this, like, huge... Kayla, no. Thank you. There was this huge, like, mound of rubble, sand, was it, like, quarry stuff?
It was,
It
yeah.
was about 2 double-deckers tall. It was massive. The last thing that I thought would happen was some kid climbing at the top of that. As soon as I heard that, I shot into this corner with my towel wrapped round me, hiding behind the cupboard here. I looked round and I could see this little kid. He was probably anywhere between 8 and 12 at the top of that mound of rubble. But luckily, it looked like he was looking a different way. I think he was just showing his dad that he'd climbed up this thing. But yeah, I was absolutely mortified. I thought a kid had seen me naked.
When I was still with Marcelo and we were going through Croatia, and we stopped off to get some fruit at some place, and it ended up some guy invited us to stay on his land, and we were like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, you know, we're going to stay on his land, and he made us dinner and everything, and it was pretty good situation. And he was like, yeah, this is my my heaven out here, you know, and it's like a real nice place. Had like little apparatuses, little like exercise things and stuff about it. It was nice. He's like, yeah, this is my heaven. And then later on through the night, he was like, oh, come see this, and he opens this door and he says, and this is my hell. And he opens this door and there's such loud music that you can't hear yourself speak in there. Quite good music, pretty heavy, crazy shit. And there's just like sex, like paraphernalias, I think is the word for it. Loads of little sex things everywhere and loads of stuff, and we're like, oh. So he's kind of looking at us as if to say, like, you know, you're keen, and Marcella started taking her clothes off, and I'm joking. We basically left at that point. We did stay the night, but we left hell and went back out into heaven. But that was quite a strange experience. Yeah, it probably could have gone quite crazy.
Most people won't know that I like to do a lot of shots and dance the night away to Whitney Houston songs. On one such occasion, I lost control of my stomach on the main street of an East Riding market town, and my Turkish dinner was deposited on the pavement. 3 young people came to my aid and offered to take me home. Where do you live? Where do you live? In the car park. I don't understand. Where do you live? In the car park. On the van. You live in a... I live in a van. I'm a YouTuber. So, these 3 people picked me up and walked me to the car park. After some minutes trying to get into the van with my keys, they got the side door open, deposited me on the floor of my van, smashing my shins. And they said to each other, should we leave him here? Is he going to be okay? And one said, he said he lives here. So they pushed my legs in, slammed the door, and I immediately needed to take a shit. I think they'd left the van by the time that I started taking my trousers down.
How about a time I nearly set my van on fire? One evening, I was having a fire, like you do, in my wood burner, and went to sleep, like you do of an evening. And I woke up a couple of hours later to my fire alarm going off. I'm thinking, shit, what's going on here? Well, there's a fire, obviously, duh. So, get out of bed into action mode. And basically, there was a log that had moved from its storage area and come into contact with the log burner and had started to smoulder. As I got up and moved it away, it actually ignited. So thank God for my smoke alarm doing its job. It's been tested now. And basically, watch out where you stick your wood, because accidents happen, all right? So that's my bit of advice to you. Watch out where you stick your wood. But yeah, peace out.
Hey guys, I'm Mel from Pebbles and Peach, and this is my confession of a van lifer. So this story is like super embarrassing, and I haven't actually told like really anybody this because I'm super embarrassed about it. So if I now get known as the crazy van lady, then this is your fault, Liam. So this actually happened as we were traveling out of Italy and into the south of France, and I had heard an awful lot of horror stories about people in vans and camper vans around the south of France, and not like hearsay stories, like as in legit people I know bad stuff happened to kind of stories. So I was really freaked out as we arrived in south of France, and we got in there super late, like way too late to be parking. This is what made this about 10 times worse. So we had been driving all day basically from the north of Italy to get into the south of France. We were like basically past Nice. It was about midnight, maybe 1 in the morning by the time we parked up, so I was exhausted. Please bear this in mind. So we get to this spot, I'm exhausted, I'm a little freaked out. All this stuff about like bad stuff that's happened to people in France is going through my head, and we get the bed out, we start to, well, try to go to sleep. Aaron falls asleep, no problem. I am just laying there like freaked out, stick on The Office as usual, and just like watched, like it must have been about 3-4 in the morning. I'd watched so many episodes of The Office, could not sleep, really like properly had freaked myself out. And then whenever I turned everything off and was like, right Mel, you need to try and sleep because you're being totally ridiculous, I turn everything off, I'm laying there and I'm like, I can hear people talking. I can hear people whispering, it's outside of the van, something is going on here. So we don't have, as you can see, we have no windows in our van, it's completely blocked off, which is probably why in my next van I would put a window in. Get out of bed, and the only access that you can stand on is behind me there, and see those curtains, that is like the front of our van. So I get out of bed, I peek through the curtains just to like see if there's anybody around, and like the only way I can see behind the van is in the wing mirrors. And bear in mind, right, we got here really late, I could not see a thing, I didn't know where we were really. We knew it was kind of a foresty area, but it also seemed really residential. It was weird. So I had no idea where I was. Please bear that in mind. So I opened the curtains and I'm like, I can see people in each wing mirror. I am convinced that there is 2 guys standing like out the back of the van, either side. And because I'd heard talking, I was like, oh my god, they're like standing outside the back of the van talking to each other. I was like properly freaking out, and I freaked myself out so much, and I stood there like watching, and because I was so overtired and so wound up about this, like I was convinced that these were moving and that these were actual people outside the back of the van. So I'm creeped out, heart's pounding, and I'm like, right, this is super freaky. So I wake Aaron up out of like his sleep, and bear in mind this was like 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd been driving all day, he was absolutely exhausted, and I'm like, Aaron, there's people outside the back of the van, you need to go and check here what's going on because I'm freaked out. And he's like, Mel, he's like, you're being ridiculous, I don't hear anything, there's nothing wrong. Because I just won't settle, he gets up, opens the van door. I'm like, no, don't go out there, because I'm convinced it's people, and I really spooked myself. So he like gets out and goes out the back of the van, and it's 2 bloody trees, isn't it? There's no people, nobody around, and I look like a giant asshole. So basically just my incredibly overactive imagination and spookedness created this scenario where there were men conspiring outside the back of the van and everything was fine. So yeah, completely and absolutely mortifying and embarrassing that I'd made all that up, and definitely after that I got a lot more comfortable in the van. But that is probably one of my many embarrassing stories. It probably just takes the cake, to be honest.
And I can't think of anything I've done.
Really? Hang on, where is it?
about this?
What, it's a milk carton? What's to confess about a milk carton?
Yeah, but what do you do with it when we're wild camping?
I'll store it in another room.
He stores it in the toilet and he uses it to have a wig. To save emptying the toilet.
Reenie's just showing them. Oh, I have to say now, I have to tell you all now that that's not big enough, obviously.
Oh my god, so many confessions. Always get a hull inspection, don't be me, and find that your boat has a hole in the hull 5 days after getting it. If you're going to chat someone up near a toilet sanitary station, make sure that your toilet is actually secured and you're not leaking blue sanitising fluid all over the floor. But finally, I think the worst one is if you're going to watch a TV series like Secret Diary of a Call Girl and you're leaving your boat for any reason, put it on pause. I didn't, and I found a group of neighbours standing around in the general vicinity of my boat debating who on earth it was that was living there and who on earth they had on board and how many people, and I was so mortified and didn't dare say that the boat was mine or that it was something I was watching in case they thought actually it was just a secret porn habit or something, that I stayed out until 11 p.m. that night. Believe me, this marina was like the world of curtain twitchers, so I stayed out half the night and climbed over the fence to get back.
So Holly, Liamtheterrible's asked us to do our van life confessions, and the world wants to know, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose... Gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
Surely there's something you've done that's naughty.
Well, nobody is ever perfectly behaved, are they? I mean, you know, I have to confess, when me and my friend sort of used to run through the fields of wheat, the farmers weren't too pleased about that.
My worst embarrassing moment of van life was we went to a VW show in the Crafter. Kelly was taken ill with toothache, so my mum came up and helped us because we had a little stall going at the show. Whilst at the show, we finished the stall, packed up for the night, went up and had a couple of scrumpy ciders, and we went to bed. We got up the following morning and literally had the worst stomach issues in the world from the scrumpy cider. To say the least, we were both dying to use a little portable toilet in a Crafter. So me and my mum, thank God we know each other, we were literally racing for that loo and taking it in turns, swapping and shuffling about in the Crafter with the curtains closed and just me and my mum. So yeah, mega embarrassing. One of the other things as well with that, I don't know if you've ever had it, but if you've got the worst stomach ache in the world and scared to bend over, you try putting an awning away, because we had to, and it was like one of the worst experiences in the world.
Right, this one's for Liam. How do I explain this? This is a story, I guess, where I scared myself shitless. Now, imagine a scenario. 18 months ago, I moved into this van. At the time, I was ridden with stress and anxiety. You know, you can understand the situation when you're moving out of a house and into another house, etc., etc. My life was a bit of an upheaval at the time. And when I moved into the back, there was nothing in there. It was just an empty shell. I just built my bed on its raised platform. I had an air bed on top of it for the first time. And I went to sleep. Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I sleep I get nightmares, and in those nightmares I either scream or shout at whatever it is that's attacking me, or I thrash out by kicking something or punching something, normally ending in injury to myself in one way or another. For whatever reason, that evening I was convinced that somebody was breaking into my van. And I was trying to muster a shout or a scream, but obviously it wasn't coming out because it was muffled during my sleep. For whatever reason, I then woke up, and when I woke up, I was still convinced that somebody was trying to break into my van. So, as you do, or as I do, I mustered up the loudest, roughest Cockney accent that I could think of and shouted something around the lines of "get away from my kin van," something like that, at the top of my lungs. And then I held my breath, listened, waited, nothing. I then got out of bed, took my floodlight that I had, a portable floodlight, opened the door bravely and looked and searched all around my van in this particular park up that I was in, and there wasn't a soul to be seen. At that point, as I was going into my van, the call of nature knocked on the door. And this particular call of nature was one of a matter of urgency, and I was suddenly faced with the scenario of no toilet, nothing in my van, because I was literally just camping in here at the time. So I had to think rather sharpish on my feet, and due to the takeaway that I had that previous evening, which was probably a result of why the call of nature was knocking on the door so urgently, I took said Chinese receptacle and used that to do my number 2. Fortunately for me, the consistency and the volume of said number 2 filled the Chinese takeaway plastic tub to an absolute T. It was perfect. Sealed it up, stuck it in the bin, and there you go. Word of warning, when the call of nature calls, it is rather unforgiving, so all I can say is be prepared.
The single worst thing that's happened to me since I've lived in a van, apart from a sore throat, has been asked to film this fucking video. But if it's nasty toilet shit you're after, on more than one occasion I've left the sliding panel closed on the composting toilet. That should be a once in a lifetime mistake, but it has not been. Apart from that, I let the dog do all pre-cleaning at pots, pans, plates, things like that, but that's just saving water, innit? That's common sense.
Hello there, Simon, Viking van lifer. My van life confession is, and I think I speak for all van lifers, is to do with some common misconception that we are all a bit crusty and don't wash. This is proof that we wash. That there is a puddle. That's where we all wash. We all wash in puddles, and I'm going to show you one day.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Tiny Pirates, and Liam has asked me to do a van life confession, so I'm a terrible person. I've got so many. My big one, I brush my teeth in bed, because my sink is right next to the bed, so I can brush my teeth in bed without getting out, keep nice and warm. Sometimes if I'm setting off late at night, I travel in my pyjamas, so I don't have to get changed when I get to my location. I can just hop out and get into bed. And speaking of hopping out, a few weeks ago, for some idiotic reason, I thought that I could fit through the gap between the seats. I don't have a bulkhead in my van. I tried to squeeze through the gap in the seats to get into the back. I got stuck. Some of my clothes got hooked on the seat, and I managed to put my foot on the horn for a good few seconds, so really, really stealthy. So there we are, van life confessions.
Alright, so I wasn't going to add a confession to this, but because most of my videos have got all my life in them, so I wouldn't have anything new that you haven't already heard as a confession or as a truth or an embarrassing moment. But the other day, a little bit of an embarrassing moment happened. Okay, let me just turn that off because that's annoying, isn't it? So I made myself some food. I made some noodles, and put the noodles in a bowl. Came and sat down at the table. I'm eating the noodles, and I'm thinking, bit of a funny taste. Anyway, carried on eating. I was starving. Carried on eating. Oh, what is that? Anyway, carried on eating. Got about halfway through and thought, that's shower gel. Anyway, carried on eating. I was like, oh, that's disgusting. That shower gel. I realised that I'd used the bowl for something else, and some shower gel residue was in it. And although I washed it out, I've obviously not washed it out properly, and when the hot food's gone in it, it's made the food taste like shower gel. So I ate the food anyway. I was hungry and I needed to eat it, so I ate food that tasted not like massively, not overpowering, but tasted, you know, enough of shower gel. And for the rest of the day, all I could taste was soap in my mouth. It was disgusting. That's probably the most irritating, disgusting thing that's happened to me in a while that I'm allowed to talk about on here. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. It took a lot of effort to make this video, so if you could share it, if you could like it, if you could comment on it, if you could hopefully watch the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.